Hello, beautiful soul. So in this video, we're talking about a very contradictory subject, which is all about work-life balance and why it's bullshit. And no, I'm not talking about work-life integration. I'm talking about something new, a new way of looking at things that allow you to integrate all the parts of you and live a much more fulfilling life, the way you desire and deserve. I'm Janelle Jade and welcome to my YouTube channel. Work-life balance is absolute bullshit. And I'm not talking about, like reframing this whole idea of it's not about work-life balance, it's about work-life integration. No, that's not what we're talking here today. In this video, we're talking about how fucked up this concept actually is and how misleading and misguiding it is, and the impact that it has on our life. So, what is work-life balance, right? Let's cover the basics. Let's cover the beautiful advertising screen of most companies out there in the world that go like, we offer great work-life balance. And if you are like most people, and I've been there, certainly myself, you go like, whoa, nice, shiny object, work-life balance. Yes, that is amazing. Let's go there. Let's work there. Let's apply and let's be just one of the many people that subscribe to the idea that work-life balance is really, really important. And I'm here to tell you why it is bullshit and why you shouldn't subscribe to it, and I will be in your face. I already want to mention that up front. I will be in your face and I will say things that you might not want to hear because they will trigger you to the core. So if you're not the type of person who is open to exploring different perspectives, then just leave already. No, thank you. We don't need you here. Thanks for showing up though. If you're the type of person who is interested in exploring different views on subject matters such as work-life balance, then stay here with me and we will go directly into why I believe that it is one of the most bullshittiest idea out there. I don't even know whether that's a word, but you get the point. So let's talk about work-life balance as in how it's advertised. Right? So big companies, big corporations go like, oh, work-life balance is so amazing. Come join us. Why is this crap? So work-life balance, what it does or how they advertise it, basically the underlying statement of that is, come work for us and you only need to work a certain amount of hours with a certain amount of, projects or whatever. Basically, it's mainly about the time that is spent on certain projects or on your role or position that tells you, you know what, you have to work, let's say like max 40 hours a week. And for the rest, you can dedicate your time and energy, your mental capacity to your life, right? That's considered great work-life balance, that you don't have to do a lot of overtime. You do not necessarily need to be, busy with all sorts of thoughts after your working hours that still go to work. It might also include that you have the flexibility to work from anywhere in the world for as long as you want to, or for as long as your state allows regarding tax regulations or whatever. And it might also mean that they have certain benefits such as daycare or any other things that allow you to have a better work-life balance, in the sense of integrating all the other areas in your life and make them fit with your work life so that you can deliver the performance that they want you to deliver, right? It sounds very nice and sounds very fancy, and I'm sure that it is so much better versus what we've seen in the industrial ages where people did not really have that. So I also want to acknowledge that and be grateful for the progression that we have made there in that sense. The perspective where I'm coming from is because I've seen so many beautiful, gorgeous, hardworking, well-meaning people that still feel stressed out to the core. And they are working in these very corporations that advertise work-life balance as the thing. So if you're one of them, please stick with me here. We're gonna go deeper into what is actually underneath this, why they're advertising it the way they're advertising, and what it actually does to your well-being, and how you want to reframe this concept for yourself, that you have more fulfilling relationships with yourself and others, and that your overall health benefits from this reframe while still doing the work that you love doing. Okay? So, the reason why I say this is bullshit is if we look at the term work-life balance, maybe look at it yourself. What do you notice? Work-life, 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 work-life. What is in focus here? Work, right? But what about all the other areas in your life? What about your relationships, your passions, right? What about your health and everything else? What about that? They're just put into the residual of life and they're being generalized. And this is why we often prioritize work over anything else. This is why we're sick so often. This is why there's so many people when they're sick that they still go to work, because they have this perception that it is the most important thing in their life. This is why so many relationships break up, because their partner needs to work. They need to hustle, bustle, right? Working, work. Rihanna wrote a nice song about it. This is the reason why our language shapes our reality. I'm gonna say this again. Our language shapes our reality. So if we say to ourselves, oh, I want to have a great work-life balance, what we're basically saying is that work is my number one priority and all the other areas of my life, well, they just happen to be whatever they are. There's some sort of balance there, but not really one that that I'm aware of and that I can consciously control. And that is the entire fault in the system. So what we want to do instead is to reframe and to rephrase and to call it life balance instead, because that's what it is about. Work is just one. It is just one out of many areas of your life. Just one. You have a financial life, you have an intellectual life, things that you want to learn, right? You have an emotional life, like all the emotions, the experiences that you want to have. If you're a parent, you want to spend time with your children. If you're not a parent yet, you have a partner, you want to spend time with your partner. If you don't have a partner yet, but you desire one, you have a dating life too, you know? What about all of those things? They're not prioritized when it comes to the language when we talk about work-life balance. It's just a small fraction of the equation. And so my appeal here with this video is to pay attention to our language, to call it life balance instead, and to become more aware of all the other areas in your life that you might have neglected as a result of your over-focus on work. Okay? So, if you're not familiar with NLP, neuro-linguistic programming, when we talk about NLP, this is the very tool of how we invoke change in people. I use it very often when I work with my clients. And what NLP does, it changes, by changing the language, it changes the perception of how you experience reality. So let me give you an example. Let's say you are a project manager or product owner somewhere in middle management in a company, and you go like, oh my God, this is so hard. This task is so hard, or this project is a really hard project. What does that do to your perception? And if you're not a project manager or anything, but just think about something in your life that is hard for you right now. Just think about it. What is something that you perceive to be hard? Maybe something is hard to change. Maybe you want to implement a new habit. Whatever it is, something that you think is hard. Maybe a relationship. Maybe you're dating right now, and you're getting to know different type of people, and maybe communication with them is hard, or expressing your needs is hard. So whatever that thing is that is hard for you, I want you to reframe this now, to rephrase and to go like, ooh, this project, this communication, this new habit that I'm trying to install, that is challenging. It is challenging. What does that do to your perception? Seriously, ask yourself this right now. Observe. What does it do to rephrase something from hard to challenging? It changes your perception, right? It opens a little bit more ways of what is possible for you. A challenge usually is something that you go like, okay, I'm gonna nail this, I'm gonna accomplish this, I'm gonna make this happen, right? Well, when something is hard, there's an emotion of stuckness, of I don't know whether I can make it, because there's already so much limitation that is put into that word. And this is just a regular example of how language shapes our perception. And the same is true when we talk about work-life balance. So instead, what we want to do is to reframe that and to call it life balance. So when we talk about life balance, right? And feel free to take out a piece of paper and to actually do this exercise with me right now. Take out a sheet of paper, and I want you to note down all the areas of your life that they are. So you definitely have health, right? So that can include your mental, emotional, and physical health. It's up to you how deep you go in this. But there's definitely health as an area of your life that one way or the other needs to be balanced. Then I'm damn sure that you have relationships, right? And it can range from love relationships to the relationships with your kids or with your parents, to your coworkers, right? Or even, let's say, acquaintances, other people that you want to network with, or new people that you want to get to know with, that you want to get to know too, right? So then most likely there's also the area of, I like to call it passion or play, your hobbies, things that you do just for the fun of it, not because there's a certain goal attached to it, like many times at work, right? But just the things that you want to do because you enjoy doing them. What about those? Then I'm sure that there's also things that you want to learn. Maybe you want to learn how to ride a motorbike, right? Or maybe you want to learn a new skill. Maybe you want to play the guitar. Maybe you want to learn how to paint. Maybe there's something in your life. Maybe it's a new language. What about that? That is also an area of your life. And let's talk about our spiritual life, which is another area of your life. And before you already go like, I'm not religious, I'm not talking about religion here. You might be religious, then that falls into that. But if you're not religious, the spiritual life is about your purpose, your meaning, the meaning that you experience in life, the direction that you want to go, like the impact that you want to leave here, your connection to that which is something greater than yourself. And you might call it God, you might call it universe, you might call it nature, whatever it is that you call it, it's an area of your life. Okay? And then there's also your career, right? That's one area of your life. That's work. So note that down as well. And then there may be any other areas in your life that you want to note down, and take a moment for that to actually reflect and think about how much time, how much energy are you actually dedicating to these other areas? So if you have your career, if you have work on one side and life, right, all the other areas on the other side, what is the ratio here? What is the ratio? Is it in balance? Is it really in balance? Or do you tend to be more, more of a workaholic, and there's more work there for you? And before you go like, yeah, but I love my work. I also love my work. And this is why it's also important to differentiate the type of energy which you work with. Are you working to prove yourself? Are you working to get approval from others? Which is why oftentimes you say yes to all sorts of other projects or tasks, even though they're not really your responsibility, which might be why you often stay late in the office, or if you're working from home, do overtime at home whilst your family is waiting for you at the dinner table and you're not showing up because you feel like, oh, I just need to get this presentation done because my boss really, really needs it and I want them to approve of me. I want them to praise me. I want to get that feedback, right? So also observe with the amount of hours that you spend working, from which place all the other hours that you do on top of that. From which place does this come? Does this come from a place of love and dedication, or does this come from a place of fear? Of fear of being not good enough, fear of being rejected? What place does it come from? And I invite you to ask yourself that same question for all the other areas of your life, so that you understand why you're allowing yourself some things and why you're not allowing yourself other things. Because that tells a lot about our life balance as well, right? And the reason why I'm mentioning this is because so many people that I've worked with, they are very much coming from a place of fear of rejection, of not being liked, which is why they don't speak up, why they don't say no when a colleague or their boss asks them to do something, right? And they believe that they are, I want to say this in the most compassionate manner that I can, because I have been there once myself. In the most compassionate manner that I can, those are really super sweet souls who live too much who live too much on the short term. What do I mean by that? I mean that they believe that whatever project they are working on in that moment is the most important thing in life right now. It's a life or death situation. And when you perceive something at work, when you're not a doctor or have a human life or are responsible for any human life in that matter, they perceive this to be as a life or death situation. And this is the energy that they go with it. So this is what causes all this stress. This is what causes anxiety. This is what causes burnout, right? This is what creates this imbalance between work and life, right? And coming from a place like that in the long run will not fulfill you. It won't. It won't fulfill you. It won't give you meaning. It gives you meaning in the short term, and it gives you the illusion of meaning also in a longer stretch. But latest, the moment, and this question might hit you. It might hit you. But latest, when you are some 60, 70, 80 years old, whenever you have retired, whenever is the last day of your life, it will hit you and you will look back and you will go like, well, how did my life pass by? And I was just being busy, going from one thing to another without realizing what the actual bigger picture there is. And Robin Sharma, one of the top performance mentors out there, he describes it so perfectly, which is what I want to leave you here with as well. When it comes to your work life, the passion that you put into that might be driven from a place of fear, or it might be driven from a place of purpose, of meaning. What you want to make sure is that at the end of the day, at the end of your last work day, that you look back and you go like, wow, I've really climbed the right mountain. And that you're not and that you don't end up looking back, being at the top of the mountain, having reached certain steps in your career, and when your career ends, when it's the last day of your life, that you look back, you're on the top of the mountain and you realize, damn it, I fucking climbed the wrong one my entire life. So, to recap a bit what we talked about here today, we talked about work-life balance and why this concept is absolute nonsense in the way it is portrayed and advertised. We talked about that language shapes our reality, and that we want to reframe this for ourselves, calling it life balance, taking into consideration all the other areas of our life, right? We want to understand from which place we are approaching all these areas of our life. Do we approach them from a place of fear, or do we approach them from a place of love? Then we want to be very aware of our direction that we go to, and we don't want to be so short-lived. We want to have a vision, the bigger picture in our mind. Why are we doing the things that we're doing? And are they aligned with how we want to live the rest of our life? When the last day of our life hits, when the last day of your life hits, and you look back, do you feel that you have lived a fulfilled, meaningful life with meaningful relationships, meaningful experiences that were meant for you? If the answer to that is yes, yes, then we have done everything right. And if you feel like, oh my God, this has, given me some sort of, this shook me up, or this has created some turbulence within me, that is also okay, because what has happened as you watch this video is that something within you has been unlocked. You have gone from, just autopilot mode, just executing things without being consciously aware of them, to start becoming aware of them. And that is the moment where you go from autopilot to actually being the damn pilot of your life, so that you can determine the direction that you want to go into. Thank you for being here. You're awesome. Remember your awesomeness. Remember your worthiness. And so please leave me a comment. Make sure that you like and subscribe. And I look forward to seeing you in the next video.